Hi everyone, welcome to everybody to this UICC Special Focus Dialogues. We've got a few people still streaming through as usual. So again, it's me, Alessandro. Very nice to see so many faces from around the world. I was just going to do a very, very quick intro. Many of you have taken part in these Special Focus Dialogues before, so you all pretty much are very adept at Zoom etiquettes and everything. As usual, have your participant and the chat box open. Keep your microphone switched off unless you're speaking, and if possible, the video on. It'd be nice to see your faces unless that causes some sort of internet disruption. So today, this is the second Special Focus Dialogues in a series of around digital strategy. We had the first one with Zoe Amar a couple of weeks back around digital leadership. And today, an issue that is probably at the forefront of many of us, which is digital fundraising and income generation. So there's a lot to go through. We only have an hour. So I'm just going to pass it immediately on to Jenny Lothrop, who will be facilitating this session. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Alessandro. I'm just going to share my slides. Hopefully everyone can see those. Hello, I'm Jen. I'm a digital consultant, and I'm here with Zoe Amar, who you can see, and Bex Ray Evans. Everybody's waving there. So we're all part of Team Zoe Amar Digital, and there are a series of webinars. This is the second one. I think I recognise a couple of names of people who came to the first one, which Zoe ran on digital leadership, and next week there's one on digital service delivery, which Bex is running, and then there is a kind of final kind of wrap up and Q&A session the week after that. So hopefully we'll see some of you a couple of times. So we've got an hour, we've got loads to get through. At the end of the session, MJ DeCoteau from who was going to be doing a bit of a case study for us, so kind of wrapping up all the different things I'm going to talk to you about, but showing you a kind of live case study of what's actually worked for them, which is really, really exciting. I've really enjoyed speaking to MJ, and she's got some great stats and figures to show us, which I know is something that we all love, especially when we're talking about fundraising, because we all want to know about the money. So what we're going to talk about today, a few kind of just basic key trends of what's happening at the moment in online giving. And we're going to talk through some different digital fundraising sources, see which ones you guys might be using. Steps to successful fundraising, and then some kind of behavioural factors in digital donation. Paid advertising, I'm just going to kind of talk about throughout it. So if you've got any questions, pop them in the box and I will kind of answer as we go. I cut out a couple of slides to kind of fit everything in. So if there's any specific questions on that, let me know. And if we don't answer them today, we will answer them in the final session in a couple of weeks' time. And then we're going to end with MJ's case study, where she's going to share a couple of things that her and her team have been doing during this COVID situation, of how kind of they've taken the bull by the horns and switched up how they're doing their fundraising to be more digital, while many of us around the world are locked down at home. And there will be hopefully be a couple of minutes for questions at the end. But do ask them as you go, and I'll try and pick them up if I can as I'm talking. If not, we'll keep a note of all the comments in the chat box, and we'll answer them in the final session if we don't get time today. So Alessandro's already said, please do keep your cameras on. It's nice to see everyone. If you can, obviously some people might have problems with internet. That happens to all of us as we're living in this digital world, so don't worry if you have to keep it off. Please mute unless you're speaking, so I might get a couple of you to share some stuff if you're open to throughout the session. And if you want to put your hand up, there's a couple of different ways, but if you click on your video with the three little dots, I think there should be a kind of hand up option. If not, along the top or the bottom or the side, depending whether you're on a computer or an iPad, you can put kind of claps or waves, and I'll kind of take that as you maybe want to say something, but generally keep it in the chat box, I think, and then we can keep things moving. So I will crack on. 1 second. So just to start, it would be great if you could just have a think, and in the chat box, share with me one positive digital fundraising change that you have made over the last kind of 3 months or so during lockdown, coronavirus. So it's different in lots of different countries as to how it might have affected you. But just tell me one thing that you might have updated something on your website. You might have tried your first Facebook campaign. You might have started a whole new digital campaign. Just in the chat box, just take a couple of minutes to think and share with me one thing that you have done, a positive thing, ideally, during the last few months. Okay, I'm gonna put the chat box up so I can see what people are saying. If you share it with everyone, then we can, everyone can see. So one thing that you have done towards digital fundraising. One from Tara. Couple more minutes. Anybody else got any positive things to share? Canva. I do love Canva. If anybody doesn't know about Canva, it turns everybody into amazing graphic designers in moments. It's really great for creating branded posts for social. It's good for creating kind of reports and showing kind of stats. It's really, really great. So if you don't have Canva, I do recommend it, and I think it is free for a lot of charities as well, if they're still doing that. And so if you get the paid version but for free as a charity, you're also able to add in your own branding, like your own fonts and colours and things, which is really great as well. Okay, let's have a look. Imad created new innovative gold ribbon map. That sounds interesting. Do you want to unmute and share quickly tell us a bit more about what that is? Imad, are you there? No. Okay, Dr. Hadi Mohammed, using influencers to promote our donation portal. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I think you were in the last session. I recognise your name.
Hello everyone, how are you?
Hi there, welcome.
Thank you so much for having this very important webinars those days. So what we did in the, throughout the period of the COVID-19, we kind of pushed forward in using public figures and social media influencers to spread, to record videos, to spread messages, to put it on their status, our donation portals. And we provided them with a special design of our project that we are providing for helping people living with cancer, and even we ask them if they want to add their their picture in the design, so that they will be taking part in this in the campaign regarding donation, and I think that really was really made the difference.
Yeah, no, working with influencers really can work. It's all about picking the right ones, finding ones that really relate to your cause and are really passionate and supportive of it, but they really can make a difference if you pick the right ones, for sure. There's a couple more people that mentioned that as well. Christiana, virtual race through website and Facebook with national ambassadors. That sounds very exciting. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, hello everybody. I have indeed with us in the chat my colleague Artur. He was the mentor of the activity, but what we have done in Portugal was a virtual race. We have disseminated the information through our website. and people could make the registration, and we achieved 26,000 euros. And I guess we have 3 weeks of dissemination, if I'm not wrong, and we have with us 2,000 people participating. And what happened, it was in a Sunday, people could get along with us for 2 hours, and they could choose whatever they want to do. They could run or walk around or maybe cycling, either at home or outside, either alone with a family, for instance. And we have a lot of people with us. It was very interesting because it was our first initiative of this kind. We were used to do this, but in a presential meeting, so people were with us running or walking around. And this was the first virtual initiative, and it was a huge success, and we are very interested in this. And
wow.
what happened also, it was that we have more or less 30 ambassadors with us. Some of them were musicians, other athletes, some football players, for instance, and musicians. And they were also with us in our social media and saying, get along with us, I am with the cause, I want to walk around also. So they were very good ambassadors of the initiative. And we also had a lot of support from the social media. So my colleague was around, TV show and radio broadcast. It was very, very interesting.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. That sounds really positive, and 26,000 euros is a really great return as well. It's been really fun seeing organisations kind of take things online in different ways that they maybe haven't done before. Okay, I am going to move on. So a few kind of online giving trends. So online giving is growing year on year, and we don't have stats for kind of how it's gone this year yet. But from talking and working with different charities, I can see that, I mean, it can only increase right now because it's the only way in most places where people are able to still donate. So I imagine we'll see a huge increase this year. What will be interesting to see is how much of that kind of continues as bigger events and things that currently can't happen in most places in the world start to happen again. Will there still be that kind of increase in things online? Or will it kind of drop again? I'm not sure on that, but generally year on year things are growing. Interestingly, research that was done in the Global Giving Report, it's interesting reading, do look it up if you haven't seen it, say that all ages prefer to give online. That includes kind of credit and debit card as well, but often it's kind of like, oh, it's just the young ones, but it's really not. It's everyone, all ages. People just want the kind of the easiest way to give, and often that is on their phone, it's online, something really simple and easy, and they're more likely to do it. People are most inspired to give by email or social media. Email's kind of your newsletter list, is kind of the holy grail of any kind of fundraising and engagement with your supporters, really, because if you're sending someone an email, it's going directly into their inbox, whereas on social media it's more likely that they might miss it. Not everyone will see it, unless you're doing paid advertising. It makes it very hard to have a big audience see it, unless you've obviously got a really engaged audience, which we'll be hearing a bit from MJ later on. So yeah, if you do have a newsletter list, or if you have neglected your newsletter list, put it to the top of your list, because increasing that list and having that group of really engaged supporters that you can contact directly to their inbox really, really is important. And when you've got those kind of big fundraising campaigns, it brings one of the best returns on investment if you can actually target people directly into their inbox with those different asks and campaigns that you might have. But social media is still good and is still popular. So yeah, and then mobile giving continues to increase. I mean, I'm sure we're all the same in that we are using our mobiles more and more. It gets easier, more websites are becoming, most websites now are mobile friendly, and people are really putting mobile first, which is so important because so many things people now do on their mobile, and that's probably only going to get bigger. But yeah, overall, I really think that COVID-19 is accelerating changes to digital fundraising. It's accelerating changes in all things digital, really. I mean, a couple of weeks ago when Zoe did her session, we were talking about different areas of digital leadership, and just, you know, organisations have had to become digital. There's been no option. And suddenly when there's no option, we realise that it is possible, rather than just kind of putting it to the bottom of the list. We should try this one day. We've kind of got to do it. So it is definitely accelerating things, which I think is a really positive thing. I hope we'll get back to having big in-person fundraising events at some point, but I'm sure the digital fundraising will continue as well. Oh, too fast. Different fundraising sources. So hopefully some of these, many of you might have used before or thought about. The number one is single donation online. It's you know, your website. It's kind of making sure on your website that you have that donate button really clear and obvious, and you make that journey as simple as possible for people. Because though it might not happen, it might not be the main way you get your income by people just happening to go on your website and click on your donate button. There will be people that do that, especially those people that might have been affected by cancer, that have used your organisation or know someone who've used your organisation, might one day be thinking, I want to give back to someone, and they'll think, oh, I remember that organisation. I'm going to go to their website and donate. And if it isn't obvious and simple, you'll lose them. So making sure that's really clear and simple is really important. Regular giving, linked to that as well. So kind of similar, kind of on your website, you want to have those different options of people can donate a single amount, or people can donate monthly or weekly, or whatever it might be. Text giving is still quite popular, and something that you shouldn't really neglect. In the corner of, sorry, one sec. In the corner of this page, you can see the girl there. She's this is Click Sargent's website, which is a children's cancer charity in the UK. And it's really simple, because some people, they might go on your donate page, and some people might just want to text. It's even easier than doing all the other bank details or whatever it might be online. So you want to give people those different options. Lotteries and competitions, it's different laws in different countries as to what you might have to do for this, what you're allowed to do, what you have to register for, etc. But can be quite popular, because people are kind of getting the opportunity to win something, getting something back. Matched giving, again, I think MJ is going to talk a little bit about this later. Great way of kind of doubling your money. One sec, I'm just checking. So text giving, I don't know whether it works in every country, but it's you register and you have a number, and basically somebody would text that number with an amount, or they'll have a certain thing they have to say in the text message, and it would be added to their phone bill, and then you would get that money. So I'm not sure if anybody wants to comment in the chat. I know that's possible and quite easy in the UK. But if any other people from different countries on here know that they can do that in their country, let me know. Social media giving. So again, on this sheet in the top right, that's some Facebook fundraisers from Cancer Research. So if you don't already have the donate button on your Facebook page and Instagram, do register your charity on Facebook so that people can just click and donate on Facebook. Also, it means people can do birthday fundraisers, and they're getting more and more popular. I worked with one charity who said that they made £3,000 a month from Facebook fundraisers without having to do anything. That was just other people who had, it was the Encephalitis Society. So people that had been affected by encephalitis, or knew people who had, were doing Facebook fundraisers for people for their birthdays or for special events, and this charity was getting $3,000 a month through that. Without them, it was other people doing the work, and a really easy kind of regular income for them. Auctions, e-commerce. I don't know if anybody does kind of e-commerce, selling things online. Charity auctions of people might donate things, and rather than doing it as a competition, you could do it as an auction. Crowdfunding is really good if you have a particular thing that you want to fundraise for. So if you know that you are you need a new piece of equipment, or you have a fundraiser for a particular group of people, or something quite specific with an amount, that can be really good as a crowdfunder. Especially if you can offer things in return. So the same way if you were a business doing a crowdfunder, it might be kind of, if you donate $5, you get a virtual hug. If you donate $10, we'll give you a high five. But then it could be kind of, if you donate $50, we'll send you a notebook, or we'll send you a handwritten card, or, you know, kind of, so they do actually get something in return for their donation. Then there's traditional sponsorship. So this is kind of your typical kind of, somebody's running the marathon and donating for you. But it's interesting to see what different things people have been doing online. So I don't know if people have had supporters who have done some kind of at-home fundraising, or maybe now they're out and about, they can do some things out and about. The charity that I'm trustee for, we just had somebody do something called Spin and Bin, where he cycled around the Peak District. So it's the Peak District National Park Foundation, a national park in the UK. And he cycled around from dawn until dusk, picking up litter along the way. And he's raised almost £2,000 for us now. And that traditional sponsorship, it's about people asking their friends. It's a great way, again, shouldn't be too much work for you. But there's loads of really interesting things you can do during lockdown, or as things start to open up. So coming up with some quirky ways that people can fundraise for you online is great. And then finally, there's been a few kind of new COVID-19 in-house ideas. Macmillan Cancer Support, which you probably may have heard of, they've done some really interesting ideas. So they've had a games night, and they're also doing a murder mystery night, where basically you get a team of friends together, or your family, and you run a games night together, or you run a murder mystery together, and you all donate, and you can ask other people to donate, and it's basically just something fun for people to get together at home, and you donate as well. I might actually be doing the murder mystery with some family, and you know, we might not even kind of promote it necessarily, but if we each put a tenner in, and there's 8 of us, that's 80 quid, and it's, you know, Macmillan aren't having to do anything for it. We're just gonna put a tenner in and we get a murder mystery for it. So yeah, some interesting digital ideas of what people are up to at the moment. So if you can share, have you used any of these recently over the last 3 months, or do you plan to use any? Have you found any to be particularly successful? I'm going to put the next slide up so you've got the list again, but just share in the chat box if you've used any of these recently, and how they're working for you. So on, somebody's asked about birthday Facebook fundraisers. So it's really simple. Basically, well, first you have to ensure that your charity has the donate button and is a registered charity on Facebook, which is a bit of paperwork. But once you've done that, people basically set up their own. So you can add it to the top of your Facebook page or down the side or whatever, and people can choose to start a fundraiser, a birthday fundraiser on Facebook. And sometimes Facebook actually sends them a notification being like, it's your birthday soon, would you like to do a birthday fundraiser. Here's some charities, and they might list the ones that they like on Facebook. Some charities actually promote it as a thing to people, so they'll have it on their website, they might add it in their newsletter, kind of, is your birthday coming up? Do you want to do a birthday fundraiser? It's the idea is that instead of people buying presents for people, they fundraise to a charity of their choice. And often people that donate are people that probably wouldn't have bought them presents anyway. So you could kind of get people to say, rather than sending me a card, donate £3, $3, whatever it might be, to this, my preferred charity, and they'll put it up and it'll go up on their personal Facebook. They can share it, their friends can share it, etc. Having a look. Ishtar, you said SMS donating is working well. Do you want to share a bit about that? Whereabouts are you in the world? And tell us a bit about your SMS text donating. Are you there, Ishtar?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi there.
Hi, I'm in Spain, and we've been working with SMS for quite a while. And what we've learned is it's a very impulsive kind of donating method for people. So it's very quick. And what we do is, if you can get those messages in a sufficient quantity, then we work with a company who then calls up every single person who has donated. So what's fantastic is that not only do you get a small amount of money through the SMS donation, but that you can increase your mailing list and generally try to convert those donors into regular giving donors. So yeah. It's been working very well. However, when we had to shut down face-to-face, our digital, we work with a company that mines emails, etc. And it's been amazing. We've had fantastic results for the last couple of months.
That's really good.
That too.
Yeah, and good to see that it's not just a UK thing for texting.
Yeah.
Working.
Thank you.
Fatima, you've put auction artwork. Do you want to talk about the auction? Are you there?
Hi, I'm from the Philippines, and what we did was we partnered with an auction house, and they put up there was a famous painter, Justin Nuida, and he painted this beautiful landscape, and then it was put online, and then we were able to raise about $140,000 for it. So wow. So that was a very successful auction for us.
That's amazing. That's really good. And I think a great thing if you have some kind of local artists or any kind of creatives that are willing to give you their work that you could then sell
it was specifically just for our foundation. That's why it was very exclusive.
Yeah, really good. I think online auctions come up a few times, so good to know that that's for more people. Okay, so I'm going to move on because I've still got lots to talk about before I pass you on to MJ to share her great case studies. So I just wanted to share a simple calculation for successful fundraising. It's kind of seems obvious, but I think it's really good to kind of have in the back of your mind. And it's also quite good for kind of predictions, trying to kind of plan how much you want to raise and then how you might get there, how many people you might need, that kind of thing. So this is the calculation. People, so this is your audience. So that could be your Facebook followers if you're doing something on Facebook. It could be your newsletter subscribers. It could just be the people, all of those people together, kind of who are your audience of people. So you've all got different audiences in different places, whether it's social media, newsletter lists, visitors to your website. Ultimately, first of all, you need people, right? Then, you need them to make a decision, and ideally you need them to make a positive decision. So you've got those people, and then you want them to make a decision that, yes, I am going to donate, okay? So you've got a bunch of people, and you've then got, of those people, how many of them are going to make the decision yes to donate. And then the final part of the equation is an amount. So you have your people, you've got a bunch of them that have said yes, and then you need to know how much is the average that they might want to donate to your charity. Okay, so and you can generally get that, you might have some stats on that from past fundraising. So, you know, say you've got 10,000 people on your Facebook page, you think that on average maybe 2% of them, what's the calculation of that, 20 people, say, is that right? I'm not very good at maths. 20 people say yes, I'm going to donate, and then you've got, what's your average? So your average donation is normally £10 a person. So then you've got 20 people who are donating £10, you've got £200, okay? And that's a kind of simple way of kind of starting to predict how your people might donate. So it's about attracting people. You need lots of people first, then you need to convince them. So that's all about kind of creating that engaging content and those reasons that people should donate to you. And then it's kind of in trying to get them to donate more, I guess. So, and it's a simple equation. And if any of them are zero, your amount is going to be zero. So if you don't have any people, or if you have loads of people that everybody says no, then, you know, the total amount's going to be zero. But at the same time, if you have a few people and you start with only a few people saying yes, but then you can increase that, then you instantly have a bigger amount. So it's quite a nice little equation, and it's something to think about. You need to attract them, you need to convince them to donate, and then you want to convert them to give you as much as possible. One sec. Oh, this has gone a bit funny on here. Does that look strange for you? It worked before on my screen, but it's all gone a bit higgledy-piggledy. So this is just a bit of kind of how you can help with that kind of user journey to encourage people to donate. It's gone off the screen, sorry about that. So first of all, you want to build an engaged community, okay? So a lot of that is around focusing on the community you've already got. Because as I said, if you've got your people, you could have the same number of people, you just need more of them to say yes, okay? So sometimes focusing, rather than constantly trying to get more Facebook followers and more people on your newsletter list, working on those people you have now and encouraging them to donate. Maybe you want to use influencers, so you're kind of building a community of people who are similar, who are they're engaged with that influencer, so then they're going to get engaged with you. You want to be consistent and you want to be useful. Whatever you're posting on social media, you don't just want to be asking for money all the time. It's got to really be a mix. You want to engage people, you want to get people chatting to you, you want to get people thinking, oh, this charity is doing a lot of good stuff, either for me or for people that I know that have been affected by cancer or whatever it might be. You want to engage them. So when you're thinking about how to engage them, look at your analytics, look at what's working, what posts have done really well in the past. Number one rule of social media and online is being social. It's called social media for a reason. Don't just be constantly broadcasting, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. Talk to people, engage with people, share things that other people are posting. So yeah, maybe you've got people doing their own fundraisers for you, share that as well, show that you're supporting them and not just kind of ignoring those people that are already doing good stuff for you. Build and engage better with those that already exist. Update them, tell them how it's going. So if you've got a fundraiser on, keep sharing as you raise more money, or maybe you share as you're spending the money. So what are you actually spending that money on? Sharing it with them, thanking them. And also for any CEOs, directors on here, make sure you're using social media as you as well. People really like that kind of personal touch. So Don't just have everything be on your kind of corporate page. If you've got a LinkedIn profile, share about some of the great campaigns you've got going on in your organization. Maybe if you're open to it, share it on your own personal Facebook, share it on your own personal Twitter. Because again, that kind of direct connection really encourages people to want to share it themselves and maybe even donate. You want to act, so you want a call to action in every post, but that call to action should not be asking for money in every post. So you want a mix of, the call to action might be, please share this, or tell us what you're up to right now, or how this has affected you, or ask a question, whatever it might be. And then finally, what you can't see on the screen, it says celebrate. So when you do have a win, share it. So share that you've reached your fundraising target, share that you have spent this money and it's really helped someone, that you've really people have benefited from it. Celebrate all that great work that you're doing, because people want to see that. They want those case studies. They want to know that their money has really helped someone, and it kind of helps start that cycle again. They're like, oh, it's good to know that my money went to good use. I might donate again so that it can help even more people. And with each of these, make sure you are testing them. So it's about trying each of these different things on social media or in your newsletter, and testing and seeing what works best for you. These work a lot with social media, but also really good with newsletters. So you don't, e-newsletters, you don't want every newsletter to be asking for money. Think about all these different, some of them might be just sharing really useful content with them. Some of them might be sharing really great positive case studies, or maybe you have a mix of different things. But yeah, make sure you have all of these across your digital communications, and you're not just asking for money off the bat. You need to kind of think about all these different steps and test and see what works with your audience. Okay, so how am I doing on time? That's about right. Excuse me, I feel like I'm losing my voice. So I just wanted to share a few behavioural factors to think about in when people are donating online and in person, but really important to think about. It's kind of that logic of how people's brains are working when they're deciding whether to donate online or not. So number one is proximity to cause, and I think we all know this, that many of our biggest fundraisers or our biggest donators may well be people who have been affected by cancer, or they know someone who has been affected by cancer, and they're much more likely to donate. So you want to think about your different audiences, and ultimately you've got that kind of first, second removed audience, and they're your kind of most sympathetic. They're those people that you really want to be focusing on and that are more likely to donate to you. So I had a family member who recently had cancer, a young family member, and I now regularly donate to Click Sergeant, which is a children's cancer charity in the UK. And I only started doing that when someone in my family who was young got cancer, and I saw that that charity specifically helps them. And they're a distant relative. They're not. It's not someone that close, but still, I am probably kind of second or third in terms of proximity to cause. But that made me want to donate to that particular charity. So you want to think about those different layers and how you might connect with those different people in your audience, and who might be the best to focus on, and how you can start to kind of expand that out. The second one is proximity to social judgment. So some of us might feel a bit bad about this, but this is partly about guilt tripping people in the nicest possible way. So for example, with the Facebook fundraiser that we talked about earlier, this is where you might have someone who maybe a family member has had cancer, and they have decided that they really like your charity and they are going to do a fundraiser for that charity. Because they've put it on Facebook, and because they've shared it with their friends, and they've said, oh, I don't want any presents this year, I'd love if you could donate, their friends are more likely to donate because they see it, and you can see when people have donated. And, you know, as soon as a couple of friends have donated, you think, oh, Rachel's and Nikki have donated, so I should probably donate too. Otherwise, I'm going to look bad if I'm the friend that didn't donate. So those kind of things, it's the same with that individual sponsorships, works really well. So recently, the spin and bin cycle that I told you somebody did for our charity, eventually every trustee donated. I mean, I'm sure the same thing happens with their friends, but I know the trustees, so I can see that everyone, one by one, we each donated, because it was kind of like, oh, they've all donated now, I'm going to have to do it. So sometimes encouraging people to even just get a couple of their friends to donate first, they're then more likely to get more friends. It also works similarly when you kind of start to get people's attention. So, for example, I can't remember who it was, somebody shared the, was it Ishtar? Shared the SMS texting, and how when someone's text, you can then ring them and tell them a bit more about your organisation. When you've got them on the phone, you're kind of that one step closer to tell them a bit more, to kind of encourage them to maybe do a regular donation, which is again where your kind of newsletter comes in. You're kind of going into someone's inbox, and if you can start sharing in that inbox, oh, you know, 300 of our subscribers have already donated, would you like to donate? You've kind of got that kind of like, oh, well, if everyone else is doing it, I need to do it as well. So really works. So sharing those kind of like, oh, well, these people are already doing it, so you should too. Showing that progress. Oh, we're this far from all these people donating, so help us get to the final bit. Really does work. The third one is reducing cognitive load. So this is about making life simple for people. If you have some complex way of people donating on your website, they are going to give up. I tried to donate to an organisation the other day, and I was on my phone, and I'd left my wallet in the car, and it didn't auto-fill my bank details. And so I stopped. And to be honest, I forgot to ever go back, because normally I'm used to going onto a website and it'll auto-fill my bank details because I've got them saved, or my card details. And if that doesn't happen, or it's too complex, or it doesn't work on mobile, you're going to lose people, and people are going to give up. So how can you make that journey as simple as possible for people to donate? And you need to get that balance right between the kind of emotional and almost like the mathematical of you want to put some emotions in there, but you also want it really simple and clear. So this is Oxfam. You see it's kind of £5, £20, £42, or donate your own amount. It's really simple. It's just click, click, click. It's a simple process. Organisations such as Oxfam has hundreds of thousands of pounds that they spend on testing and making sure they're getting the most bang for their buck. So sometimes kind of looking at some of those big organisation sites, they've done the testing, so maybe try it and see if it works for you. It will be different for different organisations, but kind of see what they're doing. You see they've got those simple amounts, and they're also saying what that amount would get. Keeping it simple so people don't lose interest, and they just can do it easily and donate. The final one before I pass over to MJ is altruistic reciprocity. So this is all about thanking people. People want to be thanked. People want to be thanked for their donation, and they want to know that it's been useful, and they want to feel good about themselves. It's the same with volunteering. My organisation is called Feel Good, Do Good, and it's the idea of when you feel good, you're more likely to do good, and when you do good, it makes you feel good, and it's this nice, happy cycle. And people want that cycle. If they do something good, they want to feel good about it. So if you help them feel good about it by saying thank you, by telling them how great what their donation is going to be spent on and how thankful you are for it, they're more likely to want to donate again. Somebody did some research recently on thanking people, and it was it was for the purpose of finding out about fundraising, but they did it by walking across the street in front of a car when it was like at a junction, not just walking into a car, and doing different levels of acknowledgement. So sometimes, and then measuring, they had computer software that was like looking at their faces and kind of measuring their facial expressions after. So when they walked in front of the car and they just ignored them, you could tell people were going, you know, they were angry, they were pissed off, they were annoyed that somebody hadn't even said thank you. I'd stopped and I hadn't turned left in my car and I could have run you over. The second one, they did a brief, a slight nod, a slight kind of, oh, thanks, a bit of acknowledgement, and people were like, oh, yeah, and they carried on. The third one they did was they did a thanks ever so much. Yeah, you know, they were kind of like, you know, something really, or waved or did something really positive and thankful for them stopping and showing that they were really appreciative. And then you saw people's faces light up. You could see that you kind of made their day for a bit. They're like, oh, that was nice. And, you know, they're then probably more likely to go on and do something nice to someone else. And that was about crossing the road, but a lot of the similarities are the same. Don't just say thanks for your donation. What else could you do that's a bit more, a bit kind of, maybe you send them an email in a couple of weeks' time and tell them what the total is of the fundraiser, or you tell them what their money is going to be spent on and thank them again, or what can you do that's that little bit more, because people like to be thanked, people like that positivity. So really think about that full journey. And I know that I think MJ is going to talk to you a little bit also about around this quote that I have on there, which is, he that has once done you a kindness will be more ready to do you another than he whom yourself has obliged. So this is all about if somebody's already donated to you, they're more likely to donate to you again, which is why it goes back to one of my very first points of focusing on your current audience. And those that have already donated, those that are already on your newsletter list, is so important, because they're the ones that are probably most likely to donate to you again. Okay, so I am going to hand over now to MJ. Let me just check the chat. I can elaborate later if we get a chance. I've just seen a note, but I will pass over to MJ because I think I'm a couple of minutes behind schedule. The slides are on here, so thank you so much to MJ DeCoteau, who is the founder and executive director of ReThink Breast Cancer in Canada. MJ's got some excellent case studies of what they've been doing over the last 3 months, having to pivot in how they are fundraising. Pivot, I think, is the word of 2020. So MJ, if you're there, if you just tell me when you want to move slides, because it's okay if I carry on sharing them. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Great to be here and to see some familiar faces. So like many organizations, mid-March, we face challenges. Our annual fall fundraiser, which we do in 4 key cities in Canada, as well as cause marketing campaigns, which mostly are fashion and beauty for our organization, like an H&M. Those were looking seriously at risk. And together, those 2 pieces of fundraising account for almost half of our annual budget. So we were very stressed. We also saw, we serve a community of young people concerned about and affected by breast cancer. And we felt like we were hearing a lot from our community, just anxiety about COVID-19, what they had information needs, support needs. We also noticed, this is mid-March, a lot of the general public wasn't yet embracing the physical distancing measures. Businesses hadn't been officially shut down by government. It was just the message to, like, you know, do the right thing. And people weren't quite getting with the program. So next slide. So we launched a campaign called Stay Home for Cancer, a social media campaign on primarily on our Instagram channel. And the idea was that we would compel people to do the right thing and stay home, but also empower those in our community who were, you know, having that anxiety, the patients who were in active treatment, our metastatic community, and giving them a voice on social media. And then, of course, we also wanted to incorporate some fundraising into the whole program. And I can talk a little bit about this as we go on. But next slide, Jenny. The goals of the campaign were really to continue to make a positive difference in the lives of our community during this time. We wanted to activate our Instagram community. It's there for us, like that is a really highly engaged community. We have about 100,000 every month who are motivated to use their voice. And we wanted to show our community we had their backs through all of this. We were there for them. We're sick of hearing that message, from banks. We're here for you now more than ever, but we really did want our patients to feel supported. We had a few successful hashtags with our campaigns, and we wanted to, you have a kind of a high bar set. So when you do go out with a new campaign, you want to make sure it's successful. So we really had some ambitious goals for this, but we also really needed to get some funds happening. And a challenge is that our audience is fairly young in terms of the people who come out to those social media events or who buy a cause marketing item at H&M. These tend to be a millennial audience, 20s, 30s. A lot of them had been furloughed, laid off. So there was the concern of going out to them to ask for a donation, even a micro donation, because this was all very early days. And knowing that, retailers were at risk, we felt like, who can we go to try to get some funds and to help us generate some funds? And it really was our trusted partners when you think about, okay, who's not as affected right now by what's going on? And we do work with some major pharmaceutical companies who give us unrestricted education grants for a lot of our work. So we thought, okay, we need this quickly, and we know that pharma funding, it's slow typically. It's, a grant request, it's a whole rigmarole, but we have had relationships for many years with a number of them, and it was a lot of quick phone calls to say, we're doing this. We'd love to use it to raise some funds, some much needed funds for our community. Would you donate a $5,000 grant or a $10,000 grant to this campaign, as well as for some urgent COVID response work that we need to do in the community? And by asking for that kind of smaller amount of a grant request, these were people that had already given us our annual funding, so we were going back to them for extra. They came on board. So the idea was actually not to use this as a fundraising event for the community, but ask the community to take action, post the hashtag with a photo of themselves. And then we use the funds from the corporate partners to be an incentive for people to participate in the campaign. So letting them know that for each hashtag or each share, this group of companies was going to donate $5 to our COVID relief efforts. Next slide. So the results of this campaign, we had great Instagram reach. You could see that we had 650,000, just over, impressions on Instagram. Twitter was also great. Our initial launch post had over 4,000. And then we had 679 people use the hashtag, which was pretty good. We did not do any paid advertising. We felt like our budgets were so tight, and we have good kind of organic engagement in Instagram, so we just focused on our own. We did do a quick video with some of the women in our community. We just stitched together. They were sending in little clips, and we stitched it together into quite a cute video, and that had decent reach. And then in terms of partnership funding, it tallied up to 67,500, which we were able to kind of turn that around and get commitments from companies that were usually a 3-month review process. We were able to commit those funds within, I'd say, a week and a half of going out to them to launch the campaign. So that was huge for us to have those companies come on board. Next slide. So the other thing I wanted to share with you is, as I mentioned, cost marketing is a big piece of our budget. And knowing that, you know, a few weeks in, okay, stores did officially close down. Our contact at H&M, the person we would normally deal with for planning, she was furloughed. So we were getting really, really nervous. And we thought, what can we do? We are now, this is kind of mid-April. We'd done some surveying of our community just to find out, what are you doing during this time? A lot of people were baking. I don't know if that was happening around the world, but we saw, you know, as people were staying home, a lot in our community were posting things they were baking on their Instagram. And we happen to have a partner who's been with us for 10 years. They're a kitchen store called Kitchen Stuff Plus, and they're not huge. They've got about 25 locations just in the province of Ontario, but they've been supporters of ours. Every fall, they raise about $30,000 to $40,000 just by asking donations at checkout from their customers. So we decided, let's go to them. They will get it that we're, you know, really needing these funds. And together, if we could put our audiences together, let's see what we could do. So next slide. So Kitchen Stuff Plus was amazing. They came on board and said, absolutely, we want to help you. They were noticing customers buying a lot of their baking gear. And so they decided they would do this campaign with us heading into Mother's Day in May, where 20% of a whole stream of kitchen items, they do tend to have a accessible price point, is how they call it. Their audience is very young. So we weren't sure how much exactly it was going to raise, but we were really thrilled that they kind of put it front and center on their website, in their digital emails. It was all over the place. Next slide. And then on our end, we really wanted to highlight the great work they were doing. And something that works really well for us is to use our blog and our newsletter. We really were known for our personal storytelling with women in our community. So we approached a woman, she's metastatic, she loves to bake, and she agreed to write a story about how important baking is to her, and then sort of weave in the opportunity at the end for people to help our charity. And that went out to our newsletter as well. Newsletter's about 20,000 people. And so the results were, stuff looks a bit jiggled around here. I think numbers are kind of got shuffled, but close to 10,000 Instagram impressions, 14,000 Facebook impressions, over 5,000 on Twitter, 13,000 overall social impressions, just over that. And we raised $22,950. Well, the company raised that for us, so that was the donation we received. We worked with an influencer, just a local influencer. She's got over 250,000 followers on her Instagram channel. And then myself and my daughter kind of followed along and baked as well. So that video went up, and we had a few cute assets that people were sharing. And it just was kind of a feel-good message for our community. A lot of our people who were at home felt like, okay, this is a way I can help. So it was a success for us. I think that's, I kind of raced through that, Jenny. I wasn't sure.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, MJ. I think they're both really great examples of what can we do right now? Things have suddenly changed. How can we make use of our current or previous funders in terms of corporate funders, but also a really interesting different way of using digital to fundraise, in that you've got that kind of, every time you use our hashtag, we'll get $5 from this corporate organization, which, if you have those relationships, I think is a really interesting way. I mean, the organization probably got some promotion out of it, I imagine, and the individuals aren't actually donating.
Yeah, they got all the thanking. So it was because it was these companies, every time we would post something about the campaign, we would thank the companies that had participated.
Yeah, really interesting, and great to see the numbers as well, which I think is something everyone always loves to see, what the engagement was and ultimately how much money was raised. I know that from talking to you, it still doesn't quite fill the gap of what kind of big events and stuff might have raised, but it's certainly helping.
Definitely the Kitchen Stuff Plus, it's a case study. By getting that under our belts right away in May, now we're feeling more confident. We've been able to actually secure H&M for their cause marketing. So that just happened last week by putting together a deck of this is what we were able to do, kind of showing them that cause marketing is still going to work this fall, even with everything that's going on.
Exactly. No, that's really, really good. Thank you so much for sharing. What time are we on? Oh, it's bang on 2. We might have time for one question. I think Alessandro said I could go on an extra minute if I needed to. But if not, if anybody wants to put any questions in the chat before we go, and if I don't get a chance to answer them now, there is the 4th session in a couple of weeks where it's a kind of Q&A with myself, Zoe and Bex, and maybe there'll be other people there who could answer specific things as well. So thank you so much, MJ, and thank you to everyone. I'm gonna, if there aren't any questions coming in, I'm gonna hand back to Alessandro to do a final kind of farewell, or Alessandro, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, Jen. And I know we sort of breezed through the session. It's certainly a topic that's very interesting. Thanks, MJ, for the very insightful case study. As always, there's lots to learn also from each other. So hopefully, in the Ask the Expert final session of the digital series, we might also not only hear from Jenny, from Zoe, and from Bex, but also from actually some of you might have really good case studies of success and things that you learn during this time and in pivoting to digital. So I think we close it here, just to stick to the timetable, to timekeeping. Thanks for joining us. As usual, the recording will be posted and we'll share the slide. I'll send an email once it's already on the website, and hopefully we'll be seeing you at future dialogues. Thanks everyone. Thanks again, Jenny, for hosting. Thanks
everybody. Hopefully see you next week after.
Thanks everyone.
Don't forget, next week is Bex's talk on digital service design. It's the same time, Thursday next week. So if you haven't signed up, I'm sure that's going to be super interesting. Bex does loads of UX and all sorts of interesting digital project delivery. So product and projects.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Have a safe day.